Every government action must be sanctioned by the rule of law. The United States is no exception, and the government must play by the rule book. However, what if there are multiple rule books? And if so, which one do you use? Professor Adocott will cover that and more on this episode of Perceptions in the Law.
Associated with the war on terror is this concept of the rule of law. You'll hear very often that people will say that you're violating the rule of law by detaining people in Guantanamo Bay, or President Obama is violating the rule of law by using targeted killings, or military commissions violate the rule of law. And that's confusing because people fail to distinguish the type of rule of law that you're referring to. The rule of law is simply a concept that says that you are obligated to use the proper law to fit the proper circumstances. In the war on terror, we have two rules of law, two separate rules of law that operate. One is the law of war rule of law, and the law of war are those standards that are applied in warfare. The other rule of law is domestic criminal law. In domestic criminal law, basically are all the protections we have associated with criminal behavior. Now we know, for example, that we are in a war with Al-Qaeda. And if you have an Al-Qaeda enemy combatant, then the proper rule of law to use is the law of war. Because under the law of war, you can kill them on sight, you can detain them indefinitely, you can try them by military commissions. On the other hand, if you have someone that's a radical Islamic extremist that's not a member of Al-Qaeda or the Taliban, then you have to use the rule of law associated with domestic criminal law. So when people say that you're violating the rule of law, the question we have to ask is, well, who is the target? If it's an Al-Qaeda member, then we should use the rule of law associated with the law of war. If it's a non-Al-Qaeda, then we have to use domestic criminal law. To stay up to date on the latest news, be sure to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter.